there's a lot of excuses to be made. Well, I don't have money, I don't have relationships, I don't have connections. Well, how am I going to start? And a lot of people look at their starting point and make an excuse off that.
Energy is dynamic, static, or entropic. You have an attitude toward people. You have an attitude toward opportunity. You have an attitude toward clients. You have an attitude toward learning, which is your posture. If you just have remarkable boldness, like if you call my office and said, I want to spend an hour with Coach Burt, we would charge you $15,000. When you think about 25 years old, I went through a really hard breakup. I was going to get married. I didn't get married. I lost all of my confidence. I gave all of my confidence to another person. You could be doing something wrong, but is it possible that you do everything right and you still don't win?
And I think a lot of people that are my age focus so much on the results that they miss the picture. That it's not about who you want to interview, how much money you want to make, the clients that you want to have. It's literally about the process getting there, the journey, however you want to say it. And I want to get your take on that. What I'm really interested for and what I really want to direct this podcast for specifically, because I know you train everybody from athletes to entrepreneurs to businesses, but I really want to target like my generation.
Okay.
The young people, the young entrepreneurs, people that are just getting started with their career, or also people that are already grinding it out and like, you know what, I need a coach. I need that advice. Because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're the coach here, but I think seeking out counsel and understanding that you don't really know it all and that there's so much to learn is where you actually start growing.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm really excited to interview, and I thank you for taking the time.
Yeah.
Guys, Coach Burt, thank you. Seriously.
All right, brother. Thank you for having me, man.
No, thank you. So like I said, I was watching your interview with Ryan Pineda, and I know the main topic there was the parade drive, which is interesting because I want to get into that a little bit later. But what I found most interesting is that in the beginning, you were talking about something that I think it was either you were coaching somebody early on, and you noticed that it was the intangible things of people that usually made them successful. Usually was the distinctive thing. When you look at my generation, 18, 19, 20, 25, what are the intangibles you think we should have?
Well, what you have to understand is what gives you opportunity in the future are some basics. You show up, you got a great attitude, you're humble, you're hungry, you're teachable, you look presentable, you're alert, you're curious, you're responsive, you're humble, you're hungry, you're teachable. These are intangibles. Like, how do I measure how much curiosity a person has? How do I measure how much prey drive a person has? So I can only speak from my experiences. I was coaching at 19 years old at a major high school while I was in college. You say, well, how did you do that? Well, I actually started coaching at 15 because I wanted to coach junior pro basketball, and I was curious. And then at 18, I went and got my first job. And so by the time I was 19, I had already been doing this 4 or 5 years. By the time I was 22, I was the head coach. And if I look back and I say, what put me in these positions? Constant learning, constant curiosity, constantly showing up early and staying late, constantly staying close to the power source and learning. Because if I wrote a book for 18 to 25-year-olds, which I probably will at some point, it would be called Go for the Mentor Over the Money. Who's coaching you matters. Okay, if you look at stats, there's all these stats out there about 18 to 25-year-olds that say they don't have grit and resilience. They don't have toughness. They don't have the ability to lock in and see something through to its conclusion. And these are not flattering stats. It's not like, it makes them look really bad. Now, that's not all of them. That's some of them. But like when I look at a person that shows up to me from 18 to 25, I'm like, can you show up every day? Can you handle rejection? Can you fight through your feelings? Can you take coaching and criticism? You see where I'm going?
So why do you think most of that, that statistic that you said, that 18 to 25-year-olds don't have those intangibles or in there?
I think there's been a softening of our society. Like I look at my kids, right? I have 3 kids. I have a 12-year-old daughter, almost 12. Is she as tough as I was at 12? Maybe in some ways, maybe not. She's had a much better life than me. She's had much better luxuries than me. Yeah. She's maybe coaches hadn't pushed her as hard as we got pushed. So why do they not have these things is maybe they've never been, I'm going to use a word called battle tested. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've never been in pressure situations. Maybe they've never had a coach really challenging them. Maybe they've never had a mentor in their life. Maybe they've never had a person that goes, you know what? You need to develop a hard skill. Like, take the skill of just these. Think about how much time we spend here.
Hours, literally a day.
And when you meet certain people, they don't even know how to get their head up, make eye contact, meet and greet, have a conversation, think critically.
Yeah.
Like, where is that? Is it because we're tied to our phones? Is it because we don't know how to interact socially? Is it because we don't have we're not put in situations that test us early in life? It's a lot of psychological conditioning, physiological conditioning, environmental scripting that starts very early in life.
And all those things, I think there's two takeaways from there. Number one, I don't think people should. It's something that I've noticed because, I'm young. I'm still 19, so I just graduated high school. I'm seeing the difference in, like, okay, what I'm doing is not the normal, so let me study what people my age have been successful, what did they do to continue that success, stay consistent.
Yep.
And something that I'm noticing now in the present moment is that a lot of the people that I was friends with, a lot of people that I saw in high school, there's a lot of excuses to be made. Well, I don't have money, I don't have relationships, I don't have connections. Well, how am I going to start? And a lot of people look at their starting point and make an excuse off that. And I think you can't change it. You can't change your parents. You can't change the money you're born into. You can't change anything. But I think the one thing that you can have control over is exactly what you said, the intangibles, your ability to get up every single day and say, well, there's no results today.
Yeah.
Am I gonna quit, or am I gonna keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over until something happens, and then constantly relearn and reapply and everything. And I think what you said was really powerful, and that is what I want, the people that are listening to really understand and grasp, because I think, like you said, we are living in a weird time where there is a lot of excuses. There is so many outlets, but on the contrary, I think it makes it almost easier.
It is easier. I mean, if
you put in the work, it's easier.
Let's just look at the word attitude. I always have a saying: bad attitudes make for hard lives. Good attitudes make for good lives. Okay. Attitude on an airplane, like my airplane has an attitude indicator on it, which tells you is the airplane ascending, plateaued, or descending. Okay. Energy is dynamic, static, or entropic. You have an attitude toward people. You have an attitude toward opportunity. You have an attitude toward clients. You have an attitude toward learning, which is your posture. If you just have remarkable boldness, like if you call my office and said, I want to spend an hour with Coach Burt, we would charge you $15,000. You know what I'm saying? But one of my clients introduced me to you. You created a mechanism for us to spend time together. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
So it takes an attitude like, hey, man, I'm going to see if I can talk to this dude. I'm going to see if I can spend some time with him. I'm going to create a mechanism that's a win for him too, right? He needs content. I got content.
Yeah.
It's like, so attitude is what people are missing. And all those things you mentioned, like I don't have networks, I don't have opportunity. What you really need is remarkable boldness. What you really need is the willingness to fail. What you really need is the willingness to be rejected. What you really need is I don't know if this could work out. I don't know if this dude will come do my podcast or not unless I ask him. Right? I was at a hotel the other day. It was a super cool hotel in a small town in Springfield, Missouri. And it was so impressive. It just didn't fit. Like, Springfield's a nice place.
Yeah.
But this hotel was over the top. The creation, I'm like, somebody cool had to create this.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I did some research. And I found that two brothers that sold a pharmacist for millions of dollars, like $190 million, bought this old piece of property, converted something cool. So I go down to the front desk and I'm like, do these dudes live here? Do they live in Springfield? Yes. Do they ever come down to the hotel? Yes. How do I meet them and spend a few minutes with them? See, that's boldness. All they can do is say, no, they don't live here. They don't come down. But what if the person behind the counter says, let me introduce you to this person? What if we do business together? So a lot of people don't understand when I say you don't need more money, you need more people. The people have the money. You never know unless you ask another person, is this something you'd see yourself doing? And that takes boldness. Now, what courses, because I went to college for 9 years to pursue 3 degrees, what courses did I have in remarkable boldness? What courses did I have in Pray Drive, which is your instinct to pursue? What courses did I have in how to handle rejection, converting confidence to boldness? So in some ways, the young people don't even know. There's a lack of awareness to even what skills they need to be successful because nobody's ever taught them. If you didn't have a coach like me, imagine playing for a guy like me when you were in high school for 4 years. And I'm spending 5.5 hours a day teaching you these things.
I think regardless whether or not you get a D1 offer, whether or not anything, you're going to be successful just because of, like you said, the intangibles.
That's right.
Which I think can be
exposure activates the prey drive. So if I was with you 5.5 hours a day for 4 years, man, there's no way through the sheer system that you're not going to be more qualified to go out into the world and produce at a higher level because of who you have been coached by. Imagine me playing for Phil Jackson. Imagine me playing for John Wooden. Imagine me playing for Nick Saban. Imagine me playing for some of the greatest coaches ever and how that would give me an advantage over other people.
You know, there was something, who was it? I read a book yesterday. And one day, it was like, the book changed my life. It's The Third Door. I don't know if you've read it before.
Okay, I've seen it, and I do have it.
He, like, literally changed my life because at 19, he interviewed Bill Gates. He interviewed a bunch of different people. I'm like, hold on, I'm 19. I want to interview these people. What did he do? And he was describing that he was just persistent. Like, he was persistent. He understood the third door, meaning that this person led to the next person, and build relationships, get in the right place, be relentless, and that's what he did. But the really, like, something that I read and I had to, like, reread it. I was like, oh crap. Which he was interviewing the CEO of something. I forgot the company, the CEO of some company, and he asked the CEO, like, randomly, hey, can I shadow you for a day? And he was like, yeah, you can shadow me. He's like, no way, what the heck? Like, this guy is a multi-billionaire. I can shadow you. He shadowed him. And then he was like, hey, all these employees want to shadow you. You have 10,000 employees. They all want to shadow you. Why did you give me the opportunity? He said, well, nobody asked. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's a lot of what I think my generation is. They're afraid to ask. Yeah. And I think that's all it goes down to. Like you said, asking is the I think where it starts, but more than that, it's also understanding that the outcome is irrelevant. Because if they say no, perfect, you didn't know them beforehand. If they say yes, perfect, now you created an opportunity. Yeah. How do you think that, you know, people my age, my generation, can get over that fear or that, you know, that doubt? Because I think there's a lot of doubt with that.
Great question. Fear, worry, doubt, insecurity are all members of the same family. Okay? At any time, you can change your mind about any of those things. So I changed my mind about rejection. I changed my mind about worry. I changed my mind about insecurity. See, I made up my mind that there is no such thing as rejection. It's like I almost joke sometimes and say, if you go to the dictionary and you look at fear, it's a negative emotion based on a perception that something could harm me in the future.
That's the definition.
Yeah. So it's typically associated with a negative emotion based on a perceived threat. Something could harm me in the future. Well, we know most of those are irrational. There are real threats. There are things to be afraid of. There are real fears, but most of it is irrational. Most of it is created in the mind. Most of it is created by a false belief in something. So when you think about 25 years old, I went through a really hard breakup. I was going to get married. I didn't get married. I lost all of my confidence. Let me rephrase that. I gave all of my confidence to another person. And we never place our destiny in somebody else's hands. So I went through this bad breakup. I was clinically depressed, felt rejected. And I'm kind of feeling sorry for myself for this period of time, like 6 months. And another person comes along in my life, beautiful woman, Italian. And she said, the way you're looking at this is all wrong. And I said, what do you mean? Like, I was interested in her. I wanted to marry her. She didn't want to marry me. That is rejection. Like, how else should I see it? And she said, no. Just because she doesn't want what you have to offer doesn't mean there won't be a lot of other people who don't want what you have to offer. And she said, I'm one of them. And she was beautiful. And she was interested in me. She's like, you can't see me being interested in you because you're living in the past, stuck on this other person. And it was at that moment that I changed my mind about rejection. And I started to go, you know what? Some will be interested. Some will not be interested. So what? I'm only looking for people that are looking for me. Now, That was 23 years ago, okay? Now I'm dating myself because I'm 48 years old. I'll be 48 in a few weeks.
When's your birthday?
The 17th.
The 17th.
Yeah. And I'm actually coaching on my birthday in Dallas, Texas, which shows you how committed I am.
Right thing.
Think about this one thing, though. Changing my mind about rejection. See, from that point forward, that not only affected me in my personal life, that affected me in my business life. Because I started going, she's right. Let's change our mind about rejection. There is no such thing as rejection. Some will want what you have. Some will not want what you have. So what? I'm only looking for people that are looking for me.
I think that's a hard mindset to adopt as well, because even, coming from the podcast world, I'm slowly realizing I think by God's grace, I'm learning more and more and more and more off of every rejection, off of every CEO that says, well, no, we don't have the time. Well, no, this. I'm learning. I'm like, okay, what can I do differently? Why did this person say yes? Why did this CEO say no, but this one said yes? And I think also rejection is a great indicator that you may actually be doing something wrong, which is also part of the process.
True. You could be doing something wrong. But is it possible that you do everything right and you still don't win? Now, let me give an example. I was a basketball coach for 13 years, high level. There were nights we went out and did everything right and we still lost. Maybe the other team was better. Maybe we lost, a bounce didn't go our way. I did a virtual event a few weeks ago, and typically when I do a virtual event, we average, let's just say, between $350,000 and $600,000 of revenue per event that I do. Okay? We spent $50,000 on ads. The data told us that it was going to work. I coached my heart out for 2 days. I embedded, I pre-framed. I did everything that you're taught to do by the pros. And it didn't work, man. We barely got our 50 grand back. And so I went home and I told my wife, I'm like, sometimes you do it right and it still don't work. So did we have unqualified people? Did I not do a good job making the offer? Because I did it textbook, exactly the way you're supposed to do it. Exactly the way that it worked over and over and over. 500 grand, 500 grand, 500 grand. And this particular time, it just didn't work, man. And so my whole team was frustrated. The people do my virtual events were so like, oh, we don't know what happened. And I said, man, sometimes you give it a good shot in life and you still don't win. Sometimes you didn't give it a good shot, and that's why you didn't win. So when you're reaching out to people to do podcasts, it's timing, connection, status. It's a variance of things that could affect people saying yes and people saying no. Sometimes people are closed. I don't do very many podcasts. I get a lot of requests to do podcasts. I probably get 30 to 50 a month requests, and I to be honest with you, man, I just don't have as much time. I coach so many people that I don't have a lot of time to do them, right? Yeah. It's not that I don't want to do them. It's like these people pay me a lot of money to coach, and it's like so I tell my assistant, Jana, who's an integrator for me, I'm like, I'm going to open up these spots. You called me because I'm going to be in Fort Lauderdale for one night before I fly back to Nashville. It's like right time, right place, right ask, and I said yes.
And I think that's what it is. I think there's a factor. There was a mentor that told me very early on that luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Yep. And I think that's very simply what it is, and I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that the biggest thing that holds my generation, people that are 18, 19, 25, 21, 22, the biggest thing back is not understanding the concept of that. Number one, timing is very important, but you're going to get a lot of rejections when you start off, and a lot more than you expect. That's something I'm realizing. It's a lot more than I expected. Yeah. I was like, damn, but I think that's also a test from God. Hey, do you really want it? Do you really want it? And there's something that I read that was really powerful. It was like, you have faith in God that this will happen, but can he have faith in you?
Yeah.
Can he have faith in you that through every single no, through every single rejection, through everything, that you're still going to continue to pursue that vision because you know the impact that it will have?
That's right.
And that's the biggest thing. But I want to get to the pre-drive because I'm really interested in that. How did you come up with that? That's what I'm interested about.
Well, I didn't come up with pre-drive. Pre-drive is already 2 words but it was prevalent in animals.
Yeah.
And I was at a workshop. This guy was in the Vietnam War. His job was to go ahead of the infantry with a dog. This is back in the old days. And the dog's job was trained to sniff out bombs, booby traps, ambushes. And he kept talking about the dog having a prey drive. Preydrive. And I thought, this is interesting. I am trained to find good concepts. Okay, my real skill set is packaging an idea for monetization, to generate millions of dollars with a concept, with an idea, like a songwriter. So when I heard those two words, I'm like, boom, that's big. I Google it, pick up my phone, I go, okay, prey drive. And then I see prey drive is an animal's ability to stalk, which means see, stalk, capture, and kill. Animals have a prey drive. Dogs have a prey drive. And I go, I think humans have a prey drive. But it's not their ability to stalk and kill. It's their ability to see and pursue. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say I come down here to, what's the place we're close to? Los Olos?
Las Olas.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's say I come down and I see a place that I love. And I go, I want that. Well, that costs $4 million, $5 million, $10 million. I see it. I pursue it. I get it. Capture it. Maybe I see my potential in my mind and I pursue it. Maybe I see a car that I want and I pursue it. Maybe I see a boat that I want and I pursue it. See, what if I see a big yacht going up and down here or wherever and I go, you know what, one of these days, man, I call my wife and I go, I want one of those things. How much it costs to buy one of those, right? Then I go work. And one day I go capture it. I pursue it. Boom. So I started going, prey drive is an instinct. I trademarked those two words. Prey drive. I built a brand around it. Built a multi-million-dollar brand around it. We're about to come out with clothes, bracelets, hats, mugs.
Do you think everybody has that in them?
I think it's in them. It's just not been activated.
So everybody has it in them, but few of people actually activate
I think if you're a faith-based person, I think when you were born, just look at kids, man. Kids do not lay around. I have 3 kids. They pursue, man. I got a 2-year-old daughter right now. She pursues and gets in things and sees something she wants. She pursues it. Life comes along and says, no, don't do that. Don't go after that. Be careful. Life kind of knocks the prey drive out of you. Don't be aggressive. Don't push. Don't pursue. Now, there's a dark side of prey drive. There's a negative side of prey drive. It could be destructive. So you got to harness it, you know? But prey drive is in people. When you reach out to me, that's prey drive. It's an instinct. Let me reach out to this dude. He could help me. I could interview him. My viewers would enjoy this. That instinct to pursue is prey drive.
For somebody that doesn't think that they have that activated, they feel a little bit lazy, they feel lethargic, they feel like they're just going day to day, nothing's happening. How do you activate prey drive? Is it one small win? Is it having a big goal? What is it that you do?
It's all of those things. I can be lazy. Ed Milet would tell you he could be lazy. Cardone can probably be lazy. Our natural state as humans is to contract to a place of comfort. It's a whole lot easier for me to go over and lay out on the beach and goof off all day than it is to do what I do. Coach thousands of people, travel around the world. So what activates the prey drive is you got to want something. If you don't want anything, you just accept your life. And you say, man, it's all right. I'm just going to be a bum and be lazy and lay on the beach. But I don't have any money and I don't have a nice car and I don't live in a nice house. And it's like until you want something, the prey drive is not activated. So you got to ask yourself, what activates that drive? Seeing something activates the drive. Exposure activates the drive. Let me give you an example. I was just on this cruise with all these real estate agents, and they put me up in a big suite. And typically going on a cruise, you're in a little room. You got a little balcony. It's not a little bathroom. I go on this cruise, and because I was one of the VIPs, they said, we want you to have a suite. We're going to get you a suite. I go up to the 18th level, which is the top level on the cruise ship. Private suites. Big, huge two rooms. Big bedroom, big living room, huge bathroom, private balcony. Got a private dining hall. You got your own private pool up there. You got your own concierge. You got your own restaurants. You don't even have to go down You know, if you're ever going to cruise ship and there's all these people in there, there's like 1,000 people in a little swimming pool. Not here. Up at that level, it's like, this is incredible. This is how you should cruise. You don't even have to go down to those levels. You got food, you got drinks, you got whatever you want. I'd never seen that before. Me and my wife have never stayed in a suite on a cruise. We probably did 10, 15 cruises. As soon as you walk in, you go, this is where we should be. Well, how much did that room cost? 10 grand for me to go on a 3-day cruise? And people go, well, I can't afford it. But I don't like it down here at this level. We'll figure out a way to afford it. So I see it. Once I see it. Now, if I go on a cruise now, you think I'm ever going to go back to the other rooms? Never. I've already seen a bigger play. You ever go to a house on the ocean and you see it? It's like, oh my gosh, like nothing's going to do now because I've seen it. Exposure activates prey drive. Okay, I see something.
There's also something on that thought of activating prey drive. You also mentioned that fear can activate prey drive.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of things to be fearful of. There's fear of rejection, fear of like it not working out. There's even fear of like, am I really going down the right path?
Yeah.
Because after so many no's, after so many like doors closing, after whatever it may be, it's kind of like, am I really going down the right path? Like, is this for me? How do you think people can actually push past that fear?
Yeah, but is there really fear? I mean, is fear is being in a freaking cage with a tiger that could kill you. That's fear. You know what I'm saying?
Perspective. I like that perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
Like what I'm saying is, so what? People tell you no. Yeah. It's not life or death. What I'm saying is, let's just pretend for a second, because when I wrote the book Flip the Switch, which became a Wall Street Journal bestseller, it goes deep into the psychology of prey drive. Fear can activate when you are afraid. You're going to do one of three things. You're going to fight, you're going to flee, or you're going to freeze. That's it. Okay? So when I'm afraid of rejection, I can run, I can do nothing, or I can go, I'm fighting. I'm going through. I'm going to do it. I'm going to run into the storm. Fear of rejection, if you change your mind about rejection, what I started doing is going, when I felt rejected by somebody, saying, thank you, I owe you, man. Thank you. I got a little bit more steam in the engine. That rejection, that feeling of rejection, I didn't like that. So I'm going to go show you. I'm going to show you that I can do this. When I was a young basketball coach, people made fun of me all the time. I was the first guy to probably have a website back in the early 2000s. Like my own private website for a guy, for a high school coach. I was writing books. People made fun of me for writing books. This is before I won a championship. Other coaches treated me awful, talked down to me. Who does he think he is? And that rejection actually motivated me. I'm like, man, I'm going to become one of the top dudes in the world. You're going to want to read my books at some point. You're going to ask me for advice. You're going to call me one day and say, how did you do what you did, coach? The fear, I flipped it. You got to flip the fear. And you got to say, thank you, I owe you for not believing in me. Thank you, I appreciate you, man. I needed that. I got a little extra steam in the engine. You actually motivated my prey drive. So the rejection, the feeling of rejection, can activate something deep inside of you to go, I'm going to take it to another level that they've never seen before. And I'm going to be so good they can't even ignore me.
That's another intangible. I feel like it's really important. Energy.
Yep.
And the hardest thing with energy, I believe, is to have the same energy each and every single day, regardless of the results.
Yep.
Because that's one lesson that I'm living by, and I want to get your take on this, that the results are irrelevant. Like, it's literally just about the process. It's about the process that you create, doubling down on the process, understanding what worked, doubling down on that, constantly learning, constantly outworking everybody in the market. Like, that is what it's about. And I think a lot of people that are my age focus so much on the results that they miss the picture. That it's not about who you want to interview, how much money you want to make, the clients that you want to have. It's literally about the process getting there, the journey, however you want to say it. And I want to get your take on that.
Well, why do big time people focus on the process? Because they know that this is a game of probability. You could drive up probability and drive down probability. If you take no action, you drive up the probability that nothing's going to happen. You take a lot of action, you drive up the probability that something is going to happen. So which would you rather do? Would you rather take action and drive up the probability, or take no action and drive down the probability? Okay, so if you focus on great coaches, John Wooden, Saban, they never talk about the result. The process drives the result. If I tell you, if you're on my sales team, look, for every 30 people you talk to, 4.8 people are going to be open to doing something with me. That's the law of diffusion. 10 people are going to have to see something 3 to 7 times. 10 people are going to have to see it 7 to 15 times. 16% of people are never going to see it, no matter how freaking good it is. If you gave them $1 million, they still wouldn't take it. Those are called laggards. I joke and like to say they're losers because they're not open. Okay, if I say the best salespeople in the world can get people on the phone, and you're only going to close so many of these people. If you make 30 calls, you close 4.8. Let's just say if you make 60 calls, you close this number. 80 calls, you do this. 100 calls. Skill factors in, but grit and resilience factors in. Ability to lock in, that is process. If I teach you exactly how to explain value, your value, that's a process. If I teach you how to get on the phone with a person, initiate, connect, locate a problem, and explain a value, invite an action, qualify a commitment. If I say these are the 6 steps for you to do this, and you don't follow the process, but you don't get results, it's because you're not following the process. Now, if you can show me that you can get results with your process, I'm open to it. You don't have to use mine. I just know that mine works a lot because it's been refined. I know how to explain value. I know how to initiate. I know how to convert a deal. I know how to ask conversion questions. That is process. So if you don't want to follow the process, but you're not getting results, maybe you're not getting results because you're not following the process.
That ties into another thing, accountability. But I think that's a whole podcast on its own, because there's a lot of accountability and a lot of pride that you have to put down when it comes down to accountability. Damn, the music's really loud.
That's okay.
We're enjoying the music. It's okay. I don't think the mics will pick it up. But on that process thought, how can, like, I want to give the actionable plan to somebody listening out there right now. How can they learn all these things that you're talking about, from the Prairie Drive to the intangibles to accountability to what you just said? Is it specific books that they have to read, courses, investing into a coach? Like, what is the main thing that you recommend someone to do, like, to really get ahead of the curve and really learn?
Let's talk about accountability, because I have a love-hate relationship with accountability. One of the quotes I saw at one point, I don't know who said it, but the only lasting form of discipline is self-discipline, not self-imposed discipline. I believe in accountability. I believe you should have a trainer. I believe you probably need a nutritionist. You need spiritual mentors. You need coaches. And the reason we need those people is because we don't have the self-discipline to do it. Yeah. There's areas you're probably very self-disciplined in your life. There's probably areas you're very undisciplined in. Like when I'm out on the road, there's nobody to hold me accountable to anything. I can eat what I want. I can stay up as late as I want. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
I can work out if I want to. I can not work out. I know I should eat right. I know I should work out hard. I know I should get enough sleep. Intellectually, I know that. But when there's no accountability, like when I'm at home, my wife's like, I'm getting into bed. It's 9 o'clock. You need to get into bed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We got kids. We got to get up in the morning, get them ready for school, right? If I'm going to work out, I got to go before the kids get up. I got to go at 5 a.m. If I want to see my kids and get to work on time, I got to drive an hour into my office at the Greatness Factory. So it's like, without accountability, man, we're just out there in the world. And I know there's so many people who don't have any form of accountability whatsoever. There's none. They're just out there in the world just lollygagging around. They got no structure, no discipline. So this is why we need coaches. Now, I do not hold people accountable like, hey, I'm going to call you every week and check on you, because I am not running a babysitting service, right? I am a coach. I show up and coach people. The people who want to get coached show up and get coaching. They go multiply their life and their business. People who don't ever show up, I'm not going to call you and say, hey, man, why are you not showing up? You're a grown-ass person. Like, right? Like, you don't need babysitting. If you do, why did you sign up for the coaching program? So I'll tell people, they're like, oh, my gosh, like this and this and this. I'm like, it's all excuses, man. I could show you somebody in the same program who shows up, who 3 times, 5 times their investment. And they're in the exact same program you are. They never whine. They never complain. They know how to get on Zoom. They know how to look up they know how to get on the dashboard. If they don't have something, they know how to be resourceful. They know how to reach out. What they don't do, because I'm thinking about one dude who just complains, and he's still not producing, but it ain't his fault. It's my fault. It's my team's fault. And I'm like, at what point do you realize it's your fault? At what point do you go, maybe I don't show up? Maybe I don't do what I'm being taught. Maybe I'm lazy. And a coach is not going to solve that for you.
Yeah.
A coach is going to provide a structure. You got to follow the structure. Coach is not a babysitter. And too many people think they associate coaching with accountability. Okay, let's say I'm your coach, and you say I really need accountability, and I say, look, man, I'm going to talk to you every week and ask you if you're doing what I'm teaching you. We're going to talk for 30 minutes a week, or even every day. What are you doing the other 23 and a half hours a day that I'm not with you?
Yeah.
I'm not moving in with you. So look at how people think. They say, well, I'll join a gym, but there's no accountability. I'll have a trainer. Now, a trainer is a form of accountability because they stand over you. They make you work out, right? I work out in the gym with other people, so it's embarrassing when you're not in shape, you know?
Yeah.
But I go, if I have a little $10 membership at Planet Fitness, man, I see people going to Planet Fitness that hadn't lost 1 pound. They get on a treadmill and walk for
same people
3 hours. They still weigh the same amount that they did 3 months ago, because there's no change. There's no intensity. There's no burning of calories. They're still eating the same things. So Planet Fitness is not going to provide the accountability. They're just going to sell you a membership.
Yeah. There's so many things that I think a lot of people can take away from this interview, but I think everything literally goes back to the intangibles.
Yeah.
Everything, because those are the things that you can't control. You can't control your attitude. You can't control your promptness. You can't control your relentlessness. You can't control your follow-up. You can control all those things. And those are all the things that you should focus on.
Yes.
Like, forget about the results. Forget about the money. Forget about it. Focus on the process. And I think that is the big takeaway for the interview. And so, I know you're incredibly busy, and I really thank you for your time and,
Yep.
the wisdom that you literally gave these people.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you could sit down with, well, you are sitting down with a 19-year-old, but if you could sit down maybe with your 19-year-old self and tell yourself one thing, what would that be?
Be humble. Be coachable. I was already coaching at 19, and I had a lot of confidence. Probably too much confidence. And in some ways I was fixed. I had a fixed mindset. So I think I would have been an ambassador. I always tell people, be an ambassador versus an asshole.
What does that mean?
It means understand how to be positive with people. You need people. See, I focused on me, my program, my team. I could care less what the football team's doing, the baseball team. And if I had to go back, I would have been an ambassador. Be friendly to the football team. Be nice to the boys basketball team. Work with the cheerleaders. But I was so fixed and myopic in how I thought, I didn't see all these other things. And those people don't support you, man. You lose a lot of support by being selfish. It's like it's all about me. And as I got older, I'm like, no, man, and it's about them, and how can they win, and how can we win, and how can everybody win? Be an ambassador versus an asshole. And it's a great title of a book, because some people, I deal with so many people, man, and some people are so difficult. It's because they're so singularly focused on themselves, very selfish. If you could get that out of your system young, understand how to win people over. The greatest people who really perform understand connections. They need people. People open doors. People introduce you to new opportunity. People hire you and fund your dreams. And I think from 19 to 25, I was so focused on me and proving that I could do it. And then I started going, you know what, this ain't working. The way I'm working is not working. Why don't I be a guy that people love to get behind, right? People love to play for. Like, be a coach people love to play for.
Yeah.
And that's when everything changed for me.
And I think that's the biggest thing too.
Yeah.
Understanding that those micro wins, those micro confirmations are the big thing. That's what it's all about. And just having momentum, which is another intangible.
Yes.
Staying in momentum, I think is what it's all about. And I think that's what your story resembles. And I hope you guys really do take the time to check out everything. I'm going to literally link everything. Just go in the description, check it out. But seriously, anything else you want to end off on the podcast?
It's been my pleasure. And thank you for having me.
No, thank you.
Thanks for coming over and meeting me at the hotel.
No, thank you. Guys, thank you so much for making it to the end. And if you guys did make it to the end, follow the podcast Instagram. So you guys stay tuned for the behind the scenes, the clips, everything. Guys, we're interviewing the biggest CEOs, the biggest entrepreneurs, the biggest politicians, the biggest athletes, the biggest entrepreneurs, whatever and whoever that you guys truly admire and look up to. So if that sounds like something you like, feel free to subscribe. But guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.